Brian says he's good back
We're
there.
okay, I'm going to call the meeting to order. It's 4 o'clock, June 12th, 2017. Well, we better have a roll call first.
Mayor Crawford.
Here.
Commissioner Blanchard.
Here.
Commissioner Davis.
Here.
Commissioner Hodges.
Here.
Commissioner Ryan.
Here.
Okay, if you'll all stand for a pledge of allegiance and a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, 3.1.
The month of June 2017 is Elder Abuse Awareness Month in the city of Salina. Courtney Train, Domestic Violence Association of Central Kansas Community Outreach and Engagement Coordinator, will read the proclamation.
Thank you. So one of the many services that DVAC offers is services for people who are abused in their senior years. So we also provide services for, of course, domestic violence, sexual assault, stalking, and human trafficking. But I think elder abuse is one of those that doesn't get a lot of attention. So it's nice to have an awareness month to draw attention to this issue. So whereas 1 in 10 seniors in America experiences mistreatment or abuse, including domestic and sexual violence, and because these incidences are vastly underreported due to shame and fear, only a limited number of victims are able to get the help that they need. And whereas too often elder abuse, neglect, and exploitation threaten the livelihoods of older individuals and erode their extraordinary potential, and whereas abusers of older adults are both women and men, and maybe and oftentimes are family members, friends, caregivers, or trusted individuals. And whereas legislatures in all 50 states have passed some form of elder abuse prevention laws, including laws against physical and sexual abuse, neglect, abandonment, exploitation, such as the illegal taking, misuse, or concealment of funds, property, or assets of a senior for another's benefits. And whereas neglect, the failure by those responsible to provide food, shelter, health care, or protection, is the most common form of elder abuse. And whereas elders throughout the United States lose an estimated $2.6 billion or more annually due to elder financial abuse and exploitation. And whereas in the state of Kansas, there's an estimated 55,375 cases of elder abuse each year, and 26% of the reported elder abuse cases in the west region of Kansas were within the 10 counties the Domestic Violence Association of Central Kansas serves. And whereas Salina's vulnerable and older adults of all social, economic, racial, and ethnic backgrounds may be targets of abuse, neglect, or exploitation, which can occur in families, long-term care settings, and communities. And whereas the establishment of Elder Abuse Awareness Month will benefit older people, their families, health services, and communities regardless of socioeconomic status, gender, sexual orientation, or ethnicity. Whereas we all have a responsibility to support the safety, welfare, and dignity of Salina's vulnerable and older adults. And whereas Salina must work toward ending elder abuse by assisting victims in assessing the information and supportive services they need, creating better and more resources for older adults in need, instituting effective intervention and prevention policies, and engaging in discussion with family members and peers to promote awareness and prevention of the quiet epidemic of elder abuse. Now, therefore, the City of Salina Board of Commissioners hereby proclaims June 2017 as Elder Abuse Awareness Month in the City of Salina and urges all citizens to work together to help protect elders from abuse, neglect, and exploitation, because it is imperative that we refuse to tolerate the indignity of elder abuse.
Thank you, Courtney.
You're welcome.
I'm glad there has been much more awareness brought to that particular. I mean, I've seen some of that, at least verging on that.
Yeah.
In my background, some of the homes in Salina. Can you give us any idea what you're going to do for activities?
Yeah, so of course we are updating our Facebook and our newsletter, have more information about elder abuse. And then we are planning a screening of a film called An Age for Justice, Confronting Elder Abuse in America. So on Tuesday, June 20th, we'll show this at the Senior Center at 1:30 p.m., just in their upstairs area, and then have a discussion with anyone who chooses to come. So that's open and available for anyone in our community. So I'll pass those out to you. And yeah, if you have more questions or want support, give DVAC a call and we can try to help in any process. I also handed a lot of people some common warning signs of elder abuse. So if you do have elders in your family or work with them, that's really helpful to know.
Okay.
And I'm doing a staff training for Eagle Crest on the 22nd, I believe. So
Okay.
yeah,
Good for
getting
you.
information out.
Good for you. Get that
Yeah.
information out there. Thank you very much, and I have your proclamation. Thank you. I'll trade you papers here.
Yes, no problem. Yeah, if you want more, just let me know, but I'll see
Okay.
this there.
All right, thank you. Okay, 3.2.
The day of June 18th, 2017, as the 100th anniversary of City Management Day in the city of Salina, Rachel Hind, Community Engagement Coordinator, will read the proclamation.
Mayor and Commissioners, thank you for the opportunity to read this proclamation celebrating the 100th anniversary of City Management Day. To the citizens of Salina, Kansas, whereas the year 2017 is the 100th anniversary of city management in Kansas, and whereas on February 17, 1917, Kansas Governor Arthur Capper signed the bill authorizing the adoption of the city manager form of government by Kansas cities, and whereas under the Town and Village Act in the state of Kansas, Salina became a city of the first class on July 9, 1920, and has had a city commission city manager form of government since. And whereas today, the city or county manager plan has been adopted in 73 Kansas cities, 2 counties, and serves 24% of the state's municipal population. And whereas, in addition to the city manager plan, cities in Kansas have an additional 97 cities and 30 counties with professional administrators serving over 67% of the state's municipal population. And whereas the Kansas Association of City-County Management is a professional association representing more than 192 local government administrators who serve Kansas cities and counties and promote strengthening the quality of local government through professional management. Now, therefore, I, K.J. Crawford, by the power vested in me as mayor of the city of Salina, and on behalf of the City Commission and residents of Salina, do hereby proclaim June 18, 2017 as the 100th anniversary of City Management Day in the city of Salina, and express our admiration for professional city managers, city administrators, county managers, and county administrators, and express our very best wishes for their continued success. In witness thereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused to be affixed the official seal of Salina, Kansas, this 12th day of June.
Okay, and we want to congratulate our own city management for the wonderful job they do, which is not easy, not easy. And I want to see this hanging on your office, not necessarily in your office, but in the outer office, city management offices.
I'll make sure that happens.
Okay. Thank you, Rachel.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. 100th anniversary. Isn't that something? That's really impressive. I had no idea it was that long. That's great. Okay. Get a frame for that. Put it in a frame. All right. Citizens Forum. We're at that place on the agenda where we have Citizens Forum. Is there anyone here who would like to come to give their name and their telephone number or their address and come before us with any issue that they might have? No? Okay. I will go on to 5.1.
Item 5.1, public hearing and report on petition number 4386, requesting the vacation of KDOT acquired right-of-way west of the right-of-way line for North Ohio Street and vacation of the platted restricted access along the south side of the access road abutting Lot 1, Block 1 of the replat of Foley addition to the city of Salina, Saline County, Kansas.
Okay. Well, Dean?
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. As you may be aware, we've been working with Foley Equipment Company on plans to develop property they own on the west side of North Ohio out by I-70. We've been working with them on efforts to reacquire ownership of a roadway that was acquired by KDOT originally back in 2002, and we're working with them on a vacation petition to that effect, and scheduled today is a public hearing. But in reviewing some of the history on that, we felt like this really needed additional analysis to figure out the various interests that the properties involved in this had, and those parties would include KDOT, the City of Salina, Foley Equipment, and MHC Kenworth, which has property to the north. So based on advice from the city attorney, we're recommending that this be continued to your July 10th meeting to further research the various roles and interests that those property owners have.
Okay. I'll open the public hearing. Is there anyone here who would want to speak on this particular subject? Okay. Anyone have any questions of Mr. Andrew? Okay, well, it's a public hearing.
Madam Mayor, I move we postpone the consideration of this item until July 10th, 2017 meeting.
I apologize, Commissioner Ryan, for interrupting, but Mayor, did you close the public hearing?
I did.
Yeah, we don't wish to close the public hearing. We
Okay.
need to continue the public hearing. So,
Continue the public hearing. Okay, sorry. I
Yes.
can't undo the do.
Yeah.
But, all right, so we're not going to. We'll continue the public hearing.
Well, the
motion would be
until July
Okay.
10th.
Right, that would be part.
Motion, yeah.
That would best be part of the motion. I just wanted to make sure that the record did not
Thank
reflect
you.
that the
Thank you.
public hearing was closed.
Thank you.
Sorry about that. My motion should have reflected that we'd continue the public
Continue,
hearing until
okay.
July 10th, 2017.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second to continue the public hearing on item 5.1, petition number 4386. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Okay, consent agenda.
Item 6.1, approve the minutes of June 5th, 2017. Item 6.2, authorize the piping repair in 3 aeration basins at the wastewater treatment plant by Walters Morgan Construction Incorporated of Manhattan, Kansas, in the amount of $42,450. 6.3, authorize the mayor to sign the agreement with Charles and Kathleen Alcia, 508 East Country Club Road, for payment of costs to relocate landscape and related items on the Country Club Road improvements, project number 63143, in the amount of $34,945.30. 6.4, acceptance of public sidewalk easement dedications on the west side of Fairdale Road adjacent to Meadowlark Ridge Elementary School and on the south side of Pueblo Avenue adjacent to Sunset Elementary School.
Okay, is there any commissioner who wants to draw anything off the consent agenda for further information?
Yes, I would like to pull 6.3.
6.3, is that what you said, Commissioner?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion on 6.1, 6.2, and 6.4.
Motion to approve consent agenda items 6.1, 6.2, and 6.4.
Second. Okay, a motion and a second to approve consent agenda items 6.1, 6.2, and 6.4. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, go 6.3. We'll go back to 6.3. Mr. Stack.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. Is there anything specific, or am I going to go through the whole story?
I can just hit the specific and then you can
Okay.
do it, because my question is actually procurement and sort of the bidding process on this.
Okay.
And that is you know, in the past I've had, and it has to deal with improvements, structures, and otherwise in the right of way versus on this project versus like when we do a water main replacement or something, and typically if something is damaged, it's up to the homeowner to make the repairs. So this is quite a deviation from that, and so I just kind of wanted to get two things. One on what, and it's probably more of a policy type question that may end up coming up down the road more. I mean, we haven't really spent significant dollars on improvements to projects in the right-of-way in the past. And where do we go from here for future projects that may cause some damage in the right-of-way? And then the other is just on sort of a sole source look of how this we got to this number.
Okay. Can you expand a little more on water line repairs? So if somebody like has a water main break?
Well, no, it was like when we did the water meters and so on. I got a
meters,
call
yeah.
out to a couple of homeowners that had like busted irrigation lines and some turf damage and so on. And I think we handled those,
Right.
but just kind of how we typically do that, and maybe go through the process
Okay.
that you went through of determining the.
Okay, the typical city projects is we try to leave the property as good or better than before, so that's the goal. So if you have a working irrigation system or landscaping there, the idea is not to blow it away and here you go to clean up the mess. So it's the trying to, but it's hard. So it's, do you plant the right grass? The guy has really nice grass. Well, how do you plant as nice a grass? So sometimes you have to work out. If they're that particular, you think, okay, we'll buy you the grass seed, you plant it. Okay, that works. Or my irrigation system worked. Well, you go to turn the irrigation system on, and there's no way it works. And so there's a chance that maybe it didn't work before we got there. So it's a challenging process to go through with homeowners. What really did we damage? And what really can we improve? In the case of this one, we know it's a working irrigation system. We know the yard looks good. The wall's nice. So we feel like it was something we had to deal with in the project. So we bid it with the project, competitively bid the project, and bid this inside the project to repair this area. The question is from the homeowners we feel like they would like to utilize their current contractor. So, okay, that makes some sense because they know where the irrigation system is, how to turn it on, how they built the wall before, and the mortar and rocks and plants and everything that they used to put it in. So well, I guess that's a possibility. We have a bid price. What is that bid price? So we said this is about the maximum we could give you. We had to pay this anyway to put the wall back. So we got a competitive bid from a contractor, subcontractor for Raypack Construction. They were going to put the wall back and do whatever necessary to try to match. And so after talking with the property owners, it sounded like this contractor that they're going to spend more money and more time and energy on their side getting everything else figured out. The stuff in the right-of-way was basically this amount. So we were going to have to pay this basically either way. The blue sheet does talk about some area where we might be able to have some savings only because they may not have to do their under drain quite the same as we had proposed. So for future projects, we've had different projects in the past where we end up getting into sprinkler systems and landscaping, and so we just try to work with the property owners to put it back the best we can, and sometimes, yes, we have to hire a separate contractor to do that. Mm-hmm. North Ohio was our latest example of that. We had to work with a couple property owners there to work of the rock in the right-of-way and the irrigation system in the right-of-way, and one of them we hired a contractor to put it back. One of them we paid the property owner with an agreement to put it back. So you always try to make sure it's going to get put back. That's the main thing. So whether we actually hire somebody to put it back, whether a contractor tries to put it back, or whether we pay them to put it back, it's a negotiated settlement, and it's not a real hard line. Other than, Jason can talk further about policy and future. We just really feel like it's typical. It's pretty typical on projects. Not everybody has a lot of stuff in the right of way. Not everybody has a lot of stuff on private property. Sometimes they do, and you just try to put it back as good or better than before.
Do we have anything that says, I know we do on storage sheds and so on. It's like if you want a waiver to build on an easement or within whatever, then you assume the responsibility that if it should ever need to be moved, then
you're at risk,
we're not
aren't
paying
you?
for it. Yeah.
Right, you're at risk. That's a good point. The policy could be made that anything in the right of way, you're at risk. That could be a policy that we have. It's, there's been history here where that, you could maybe use that. We're going to take a hard line on that. Well, we could do that. So that is a somewhat of a policy decision, and that's why I feel like this is a pretty big purchase here for landscaping. But historically, it seems like since I've been here and for the last 10 years or so, even Westar or Kansas Gas, our water company, they come into somebody's backyard and they mess up everything in the easement. Well, they have the right to be there, but at the end of the day, they usually try not to demolish the building that was there or leave the fence laying in the yard. They put the fence back up. So those are just things that part of living in communities across the U.S. Everybody deals with the same issue, and it'd be nice if it was a nice open area, but that is not the case.
Yeah, and I completely appreciate the fact that we're trying to make whole what is there, but it just seems like, boy, when you put something of significant value in an area that, I'm just concerned that it kind of sets the bar pretty high.
Mhm.
Now it's everything under 34,000 is like, why don't you replace my thing?
Right.
So, I mean, I appreciate that you went through, you got the bids, you went through a process on that. But anyway, okay.
Further, it doesn't seem like a lot of people spend that much money in the right of way. They are concerned with it, so it isn't. We don't have a lot of that on this job. We don't typically run into that a lot on projects. Sprinkler lines, grass, plants, those are pretty typical. That we do run into a few retaining walls periodically. It's not as bad. This is an expensive one, so it's you hope that not a lot of people do this in the future, but it is a possibility.
If
Go ahead.
there's something about when it's done that the homeowner doesn't like, do they talk to the landscaper, or is that on
Yeah.
us to make sure that everything's happy? Sometimes landscapers don't come back
That's correct. Yes.
and check on anything after they've done it.
We have what's nice about this agreement is we're actually not contracting with the landscaper. We are contracting with basically to pay. It's kind of a mutual agreement with the property owner. So they have to be happy, first of all, and we can't really pay the contractor until the property owner's happy. And this property owner has spent and worked with this consultant and this contractor a lot. Have you seen that yard and that?
Yeah, I have. It's beautiful.
And
really is.
Matt Wagner
Very
is
pretty.
on the hook for it. He is the owner of the company, and he was out there that day, and they had him jumping. So he realizes what he needs to do and when he needs to do it. We felt like that's probably good for APAC shears to get out of that business and allow that to occur, because they're going to be very particular, and they understand the time frame, and we feel like this is a real benefit to the city. Overall, it could cost us longer in the long run if they're not happy and our contractor has to come back and we decide we're going to force them to use our contractor. We could do that, but we feel like it's probably the best in this situation to utilize landscapes.
Yeah, and and all of that is really is not.
Not
Yeah, I have
this
confidence
is just a big number,
that
isn't it?
would, and I appreciate
Right.
everything we're doing.
It's a big number.
It's just I'm just worried about kind of what that sets up for us in the future, and so it would just be my last question. I'll let it go. Is that typically these types of decisions are made administratively, and this one came to us.
Mm-hmm.
In the future, will we see more of these coming to us, or what is that dollar amount that says governing body looks at this now instead
Yeah, I
of,
think this one came to you because working with the property owner and not working through the actual
so
contract.
it's not an amount, it's a
It's
contractual.
right, it's more the party that we're dealing with. And you're right. And one way to limit, I suppose, is the approach is a good neighbor approach, and it's kind of there's a cost to it, but it's thinking that if someone makes an effort to keep the right of way improved versus to throw a bunch of rock and weeds out there and have a mow line, then it makes sense for us to try to put it back. We don't have to, as a governing body in the city, we don't have to, but we've always tried to do that because we think it's a good neighbor thing. And when we're doing a project, this is pretty expensive. One option could be potentially if we wanted to put a cap on investment to do that, or we'd say we would do it up to a certain amount, and then after that it's up to you. Yeah, someone might be upset, but it's not the most unfair approach either.
Yeah, I think just probably communication is a good thing, so that when somebody thinks I'm going to put a big investment in the right of way, they are kind of like my example with the storage shed or something.
Right.
Any sort of structure, they kind of, okay, well, I've been
Warned
kind
of
of
the
told
risk.
that there might be something here, and you know that we can always do the good neighbor thing, but if the price does get huge, it's like whoa.
Yeah.
It's precedent setting a little bit, I think.
Well,
In a way,
you can
or could
always
be.
you can always at some point have a policy from that point forward and say no go. But I think you got to be careful being in the gray. I think you're either going to go there now if there's something that would create an unsafe environment or have some kind of negative effect to the right of way. We can put that aside. But outside of that, I think that you either go or no go, and you'd want to be careful going into the gray too much.
And I think probably, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but probably where a huge amount of that cost is involved is in the retaining wall, and so
Correct. Right.
and a
right.
retaining wall is a structure, and so typically it's hard to spend way too much money on plants. I mean, their plant material can get expensive, but
Plants,
I think
sod.
probably if in the future we look at something that says if you're going to place any type of structure in the right of way, then probably you need to have license agreement or just a waiver that says I'm responsible for.
Okay.
I don't know. It just seems to me that might be one way that you could handle future, so we're not setting a precedent, and there is the ability to
Yeah,
be
that should
flexible and a
happen
good neighbor.
today.
It
If someone
should. That's
builds
exactly
anything
right.
in the right of way today, and
Right.
you're supposed to get formal permission and be permitted to
We
do
do
that.
have a
I don't know
code
how
for that.
long this had been there. Dan, do you have an idea how long this had actually been in place?
The Google Street View says that it was being constructed in 12-13 time frame.
Okay, so it's really not that old.
That old, not that long. And from our perspective, we really need, a lot of people don't tell you about this stuff. They just put it in. So you don't necessarily get somebody calling and asking if I can put it in, where I can put it. So we really have to rely on our contractors in town to know, which landscape consultants is one that we can discuss that with, because they do a lot of this pretty nice landscaping, but it would be helpful if they, first of all, let us know if it's in the right of way. Second of all, keep it on private property mostly if you can. That's the best approach. But even then, we've still gotten into it on some projects too. So,
Right.
so,
Okay.
Thank you, Dan.
yep, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay.
I'll go ahead and make, and I appreciate the being the good neighbor, and it really does look good. So I'll just move that we approve the agreement with Charles and Kathleen Elsia, 508 East Country Club Road, for payment of costs related to relocate, landscape, and related items on the Country Club Road Improvement Project number 63143.
Second.
Okay. We have a motion and a second to approve item 6.3 in the amount of $34,945.30. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Go on to administration, 7.1.
Item 7.1, second reading, ordinance number 17-10884, changing the zoning district classification from R Single Family Residential to I2 Light Industrial on property addressed as 1123 to 1127 Van Horn.
Okay, this is a second reading. Ordinance number 17-10884 was passed on first reading on June 5th, 2017. Since that time, no comments have been received. Any public comment? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve ordinance number 17-10884.
Madam Mayor, I move that we approve on second reading ordinance number 17-10884, changing the zoning district classification from R Single Family Residential to I2 Light Industrial on property addressed as 1123 through 1127 Van Horn.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to approve second reading ordinance number 17-10884. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Oh, excuse me, I'm sorry. Roll call. Let's do that.
Commissioner
Thank you,
Blanchard.
Vice Mayor.
Commissioner Davis.
Aye.
Commissioner Hodges.
Aye.
Commissioner Ryan.
Aye.
Mayor Crawford.
Aye. 7.2, please.
So item 7.2, second reading ordinance number 17-10887, amending the future land use map of the Salina, Kansas Comprehensive Plan to change the future land use designation of the northwest corner of South 5th Street and Prescott Avenue from urban residential to future hospital medical.
Okay, thank you. Ordinance number 17-10887 was passed on first reading on June 5th, 2017. Since that time, no comments have been received. Is there any public comment? Okay, I'll entertain a motion on second reading.
Madam Mayor, move adoption on second reading of ordinance number 17-10887, amending the future land use map of the Salina, Kansas Comprehensive Plan to change the future land use designation of the northwest corner of South 5th Street and Prescott Avenue from future urban residential to future hospital medical.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second on to approve on second reading ordinance number 17-10887. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Blanchard.
Aye.
Commissioner Davis.
Aye.
Commissioner Hodges.
Aye.
Commissioner Ryan.
Aye.
Mayor Crawford.
Aye. Okay, 7.3, Sandy.
Item 7.3, second reading ordinance number 17-10885, authorizing and providing for the construction of certain improvements relating to the Smoky Hill River renewal project in the city and authorizing the issuance of general obligation bonds of the city to pay the cost thereof.
Okay, ordinance number 17-10885 was passed on first reading on June 5th, 2017, and since that time, no comments have been made. Any public comment? Okay, if not,
Madam Mayor, I move we approve ordinance number 17-10885, authorizing and providing for the construction of certain improvements relating to the Smoky Hill River Renewal Project in the city and authorizing the issuance of general obligation bonds of the city to pay the costs thereof.
Second.
okay, I have a motion and a second to approve on second reading ordinance number 17-10885. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Blanchard.
Aye.
Commissioner Davis.
Aye.
Commissioner Hodges.
Aye.
Commissioner Ryan.
Aye.
Mayor Crawford.
Aye. Okay, item 7.4.
Item 7.4, second reading ordinance number 17-10888, authorizing and providing for the construction of certain street, water line, and storm sewer improvements related to the downtown streetscape project in the city and authorizing the issuance of general obligation bonds and utility system revenue bonds of the city to pay the costs thereof.
Okay, ordinance number 17-10888 was passed on first reading on June 5th, 2017, and since that time, no comments have been received. Is there any public comment? Okay, I entertain a motion to approve.
Madam Mayor, I move that we approve on second reading ordinance number 17-10888, authorizing and providing for the construction of certain street, water line, and storm sewer improvements related to the downtown streetscape project in the city and authorizing the issuance of general obligation bonds and utility system revenue bonds of the city to pay the costs thereof.
Second.
Okay. Motion and a second to approve on second reading ordinance number 17-10888. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Blanchard.
Aye.
Commissioner Davis.
Aye.
Commissioner Hodges.
Aye.
Commissioner Ryan.
Aye.
Mayor Crawford.
Aye. Okay, 7.5. Just zooming right along.
Item 7.5, resolution number 17-7460, approving a contract for the design and engineering of the Police Training Center range facility.
Thank you, Mayor.
Chief.
Thank you, Mayor, Commissioners. I feel like I was just here. I can say, as far as this, I want to first introduce Mr. Estes here. This is James Estes. He's the president of the Police Facility Design Group, which is the firm that was chosen, hopefully, to design this facility after we visit here. I won't bore you with what I said last week. I'll just say this has been a pretty long process, started in 2015. We did follow the RFQ process as prescribed. We sent out 11 different requests for RFQs back in February of 2017. and I was happy to get 8 responses back out of the 11. I thought that's pretty good, but got those back. Again, following the procedures of the RFQ, we did choose 4 firms that we had interviews with. We had all-day interviews with those firms. And that was back in April 18th of this year. And on the 24th, the committee, the 3 of us met, and we unanimously chose the Police Facility Design Group as a group we'd like to design our training center range. We also did the reference checks, and I have several comments in there in the blue sheet that you read. And I also traveled to Iowa to look at a couple of facilities that were designed by his architectural firm. Quite impressed. Nobody said anything bad at all, and I was impressed with the facilities, how they're designed and such. I'm not an architect, but I was impressed with what I saw as a police facility. It's very, very impressive. And I'm certainly entertain any questions, and Mr. Estes is here for the difficult questions.
Okay, any questions?
I was just wondering, and I think this is more of a question for Mr. Gage than it is for Chief Nelson. We had gotten some correspondence earlier about the potential for a public-private partnership, and I think we've gotten an update on that, but I didn't know if you could maybe summarize that briefly so that the public would have that background as well.
Well, there's at least one group that's looking at potentially placing a private firing range in the community and entertained some form of a partnership. And we took a close look at that. Right now, there aren't any architectural drawings. It's very prospective, and they're still at the gathering interest stage. So one of the negatives is it'd be easier if it was already in place, if we thought that it met all of our needs and it was a matter of just coming to an agreement. But in this case, the facility is still early in the planning stages. We really, in evaluating it, are not sure that it would meet all of our needs. And as a matter of fact, we are sure it wouldn't meet all of our training needs and storage needs. So that was a concern. And then there's a question that whatever you might compromise in that, how does a long-term deal look like? What happens if they go out of business? There's a lot of those prospective aspects. So we weren't sure that it was the best fit, but certainly that's a question that would be left to you, and that's sort of where we left it.
Thank you. And then Chief Nelson, do we have plans for interim facilities? Because this training center and range is going to be constructed on our existing site, correct?
Yes, same footprint,
Okay.
exactly.
So is there any plan for what we can use while that facility is being constructed?
Well, yeah, the plan is KHP's already offered that we can shoot at their range. The Army has offered to, so we're good there. But yeah, it's a great question. But yeah, we do have that covered because we need to keep on qualifying and such.
All right, thanks.
Okay. Any questions? Any other questions? Okay,
Thank you.
I guess that's it.
Okay.
No questions. That's good.
That is good.
It's good. Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve Resolution 177460.
Madam Mayor, move approval of resolution number 17-7460, approving a contract for the design and engineering of the Police Training Center range facility.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to approve Resolution 177460. Is there any public comment? Okay. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay. Ooh, that was good, huh, Chief? Went through pretty fast. Okay, item 7.6.
Item 7.6, award the contract for the 2017 Bridge Rail Painting Project number 70015.
Mr. Stack again.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor and Commissioners, again. We have scheduled this year in our sub-CIP a bridge rail painting line item, basically. We looked at doing some of this work last year, tried to figure out a way to do it in-house, tried to figure out what the costs would be, how many we have. We've got quite a few bridge rails that are probably in need of painting. So it's just one thing we haven't done a lot here in the city in the past. So we solicited some quotes from a couple of contractors, and I kind of go through the quotes we received. We were in around the $50,000 range last year. Basically, one of them was we were going to take all the railings off and load them and take them to a place here in town to paint them. Sounded like a pretty good idea, but it was still $50,000, and it'd be a lot of staff time and work. And those rails are surprisingly heavy, and there's a lot of them. So there's 82 sections of them, and it would take quite a while. Second, we looked at having somebody come in and paint them in place. Contractors thought they could probably do that, and they'd test the paint and make sure it wasn't lead paint and make sure it was contained. And so that came in as well, and there wasn't a whole lot different. And I thought, well, that's a lot less work for staff, so we thought we could try to have them, based on all the other commitments the city streets guys are in, that seemed like one maybe would be valuable to have somebody come in and paint it. So we thought that would make some sense, that we budgeted it for this year, and then not having a lot of experience bidding, painting rail projects. They're expensive, and we were still low with our estimate, even with taking into account maybe some of the things we thought had to be added to that estimate. There is the paint has been tested. There is a small amount of lead paint in it, so we have to definitely contain it, and so it's a little bit more involved than just going out there with brushes or sandblasting material, and it's just there's a lot more to it. So these guys that bid this project, as you can see, some of them are really proud of their work, and some of them felt like they're pretty reasonable.
I see that.
It was quite the range on our bids. So we know that we feel like the top two, Thomas and Lindner, both are fairly local. They do a lot of painting in the Kansas City area for KDOT, for MoDOT, for Nebraska, so that they know what they're doing. They know how to contain the right amount of paint and have the equipment to do it, and then to utilize a good paint that lasts another, hopefully, 15 to 20 more years. So we feel like that's a good approach. It is a little bit more than the engineer's estimate and a little more than the budget. So we felt like we need to kind of try to explain our methodology and why we were low. One thing after talking to the contractors, where we didn't think a whole lot about the streetlight poles that are on that bridge. There's 6 of them, and they are 30 feet tall. So they're just really hard to contain and paint. It's probably easier if you take them down, or there's a lot of ways to do that. But that added more than we thought it would to the bids, and traffic control and the containment and the type of paint system that was bid was just more than our quotes were last year. So we felt like they have good reason for what they're going to do. They have to use kind of specialized equipment in bucket trucks to get up on those streetlight poles and get those things blasted and make sure they suck everything into the machine, and it's quite the process. So we're actually excited to see them do this work, just because we haven't had it done here in Salina for a while, and we have quite a few other bridges that need rail painting done. So we'll just kind of have a better idea after this of what we're looking for and what they think is the best approach. Talked with I guess both low bidders, and seemed like both of them were very knowledgeable. They had been to the site, and Thomas has a crew. The low bid actually has a crew working east of here, and was able to have their superintendent come look at the site. So we feel like it was a good bid. I don't think if we bid it again, we could do it a whole lot better. It wasn't a mobilization issue because they already have crews in the area, so that was helpful. He said it was not a real long project, so he said, yeah, they typically just keep their crews busy, and it's a good time for them to do it. He went through the normal procedure of how they would kind of go through and how long it would take them. So I felt like they were knowledgeable, knew what they were doing. I don't see how, if we tried to bid it again, if we'd get a whole lot cheaper of an estimate. So we feel like we have the money to do it this year. It's a little more than we'd hoped. So much so that some of our staff thought they need to be in the painting business periodically. It's like, man, that's expensive. A guy with a paintbrush can make a lot of money, but there's more to it than that. So we'll have to give them the benefit of the doubt that this is not easy work. And if you've ever seen them paint bridges and girders and rails on bridges, it's not easy and hanging off. That's a really tall bridge out there, so we know it's not one you want to skimp on. So anyway, we feel like it's a good bid. We did have 2 bids that were close to each other, so we feel like they're not totally outrageous. The other 2 were definitely outrageous, and so we're recommending we'd like to go with this, but we'll entertain questions. Any other thoughts you all have?
Maybe the most outrageous one was what didn't want the job very bad.
Yes. Florida, the Florida bidder. He's proud of his work, or maybe it's too far to
Something.
travel.
Any questions?
How long, what's the life expectancy of this bridge? Is our paint job going to last longer than the bridge?
Well,
Glass?
Kent went through that. He inspects this bridge, one of our staff members, and it is a 60-year-old bridge. But right now, it's got good bridge girders, and it rates really high. So it's really nice to be able to report that a bridge is in good shape. That is this old, because that doesn't always happen. But so, yeah, we feel like the deck's in good shape. The railing's structurally great, so it just looks like it's bad. That green paint's all over the place, so it doesn't look very good. But the railing is fine as far as structural goes, and it's serving its useful life. The deck looks good, and underneath the bridge looks pretty good as well. So we feel like it's worthwhile to paint the rails. It gets us 20 more years of life, which seems to be good for this bridge as well.
And this is a very shallow question. What color are you painting the rails?
Oh, darn it. I didn't even put that in here, did I?
I don't think you.
Did I say black?
Did it say black? Oh,
Okay,
I missed
good.
it. Okay.
Like, if
All
I didn't
right.
put that in there. It seems
Okay.
like we are going with black more in this
hoping not
town. We have
green again.
black. We have black.
It'd be better than green, anyway.
Well, we have the green on North Ohio,
I
which is just unique and hard to match. We have, but that was a more artistic project. But we have a few railings, Oakdale, in Oakdale Park. That one actually has green paint on it as well.
And that looks good, though.
It's better? Okay, I'm glad to hear
Greeley
that.
Bridge is good.
Okay. And the new, we've done Lakewood and Greeley. Both are black paint, and we feel like they look pretty well. Our streetlight poles are black, so we feel like black is pretty common, looks pretty good. It's pretty friendly to the environment as far as doesn't, I don't know, even when it fades, it still looks all right. So it's been pretty good for us. So we're going to try black.
The streetlight poles are usually black, too, so
They have,
that
all of
works.
our iron streetlight poles
Right.
are powder coated black. So then our downtown poles are black now. So we feel like that's a good. Or we have black signposts now. We're using looks a little bit better than the old galvanized gray ones. So it's like black is what we're going with.
Just a real quick on the overage,
Yes.
Coming up with the funds for the overage. Is there anywhere other than paving
Pavement
that
ceiling.
we ever look to that we could look to for those? I mean, if you've got it on these ones, that's great. But I know it's kind of like for us, the paving's a big thing,
That's a
and
good point.
yeah.
Yeah, that's true. So I mean, really, some of the things we have in our CIP are not paving related. So it's storm sewer, it's ramps, it's bridges, it's traffic street lights and traffic signals. So it does water that down some. So that is something maybe to consider. I guess
Would you like us to
we don't
look,
have that yet.
Would you like us to look sales tax first for the overage? That would be the likely source would be sales tax if it's available.
The source.
Yeah.
Yeah, if that's if that's where those projects are originating out of, then
Yeah,
I
this
would.
one came out of gas tax initially, I assume, because it's a maintenance type project. That's,
Yeah, and it's
that's
the lower
eligible.
number
So that's
of our-
why you see that
And it
there.
kind of
but
exhausted it
it's
out
up
of
to
that.
you if you'd like us to look at. It's sort of 6 one, half dozen the other, in the sense that both of those pots are going to be kind of used for similar projects. But if you have a preference to say for the overage, can you look at sales tax first? If you anticipate available funds, we could sure do that. It wouldn't matter to us.
Makes sense, really.
We had pavement
to me.
ceiling in gas tax, so we just felt like keeping it in that same area. But we
Just
could
kind of preserves that number we kind of decided that we were going to do in the street maintenance. Is that kind of what you're getting at too, or what?
Yeah, that's why I say either one. Some of the things that they do with gas tax, they'll do something of a more fairly significant maintenance, or even a lot of smaller maintenance where you're buying rock and concrete, things like that. Sales tax is more of a bigger project type project, but either one probably gets to the same ultimate goals. But if for some reason you really wanted us to look at going sales tax with the overage, we could do that first if it's available. If it's not, stay with the gas tax or leave it how it is. Either way, I think you probably are going to get the same combination.
Yeah, and I was kind of just going more towards. I know sometimes when the bid comes in lower than we're expecting, we'll say,
Right.
well, let's buy 2 more manhole covers.
Right.
And I'd rather say, well, let's don't buy those 2 new manhole covers. Let's use that for the
Okay.
overage. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's that but the idea is just to preserve as much of those dollars that go into
Yeah.
local
You're saying
street
try to, if we
maintenance.
can, in the gas tax fund, I misunderstood maybe, try to even it out. If we have something that comes in less, don't try to use that, leave it for this overage.
Right.
Okay, yeah, certainly.
Just
Try to make sure we
if you
balance
have
out.
the flexibility to do something like that.
Yeah, they
So,
may. I think
okay.
a lot of these projects will come in a little bit low most of the time that they do,
Mhm.
so we'll try to do that.
That makes sense.
And I like the way that the black patina's to more of a gunmetal color, so it's nice too.
Had to bring in patina.
Yeah.
We have, we still have stormwater, sidewalk to bid as well, and since those are not necessarily street related, those are, we are,
Okay.
it is interesting, because $3.7 million of sales tax, that is still going for all streets, but it's this gas tax amount. Some of this stuff is not all spent on streets, so we can keep it in the pavement ceiling and try to get it out of one of the others if that's helpful. Okay.
If that's possible.
Okay, thank you.
Super.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Any other questions? I'll entertain a motion on item 7.6.
Madam Mayor, I move that we award the contract for project number 70015, 2017 bridge painting to Thomas Industrial Coatings of Peevely, Missouri, in the amount of $70,400 with a 10% construction contingency of $7,040.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to award the contract for 2017 bridge rail painting, project 70015. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, we have no development business. Other business, I just wanted to thank all the people that brought the festival to us this year and once again, and what a lot of work that is, but lots and lots of volunteers and great job. I don't know what the numbers look like yet, but it's a great job, and it was hot. Anyone else have anything?
I just had a quick question. If Mr. Gage, if you could maybe give us just an update on state legislature and star bonds and where we are in that process now moving forward.
Sure, yeah, that's good news. The state legislature came through, which is great news. As you know, before, the star bond legislation was sort of packaged up with their tax legislation, and they finally did they didn't have agreement entirely. The two houses did, two chambers, I should say. The governor vetoed the spending bill, and they were able to garner enough votes in both chambers to override the veto, which I didn't think would happen, actually. So I'm pretty impressed with their ability to do that. And along with that came a star bond renewal legislation. It doesn't affect, from our perspective, it doesn't affect our project as far as harming it in any way. It doesn't add obligations to it. It allows us to go with natural timing. Now, I say that with a caveat because I do anticipate that they will come back to star bonds next year, because this year they really just passed it on. And it's a possibility they won't, but I think that they still may. So when we get into the next legislative session, we'll want to watch pretty closely. But absent that, we're in a position to take our project with its natural timeline and cycle, and that's great news. And on the private side, they're working on, and us as well, we're working on those final agreements that kind of fulfill the development agreement, trying to get the projects going. And you've taken a lot of action on some of the public side, too, so you know where that's at. So it's great news, and we're excited to be able to move forward.
Okay.
Okay, Madam Mayor, move to recess into executive session for 45 minutes to discuss with legal counsel matters subject to the attorney-client privilege, for the reason that public discussion of those matters would waive the privilege and adversely affect the city's interest in the matters, and to discuss confidential data relating to the financial affairs and trade secrets of a corporation, for the reason that public discussion of the information would competitively disadvantage the corporation, and reconvene at 5:45 p.m.
Okay.
Second.
A motion and a second to recess into executive session. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any business afterwards?
No, we do not expect for you to have any business afterwards.
Okay, thank you.